Welcome back, history enthusiasts, to another episode of Important Stories. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications to stay updated with our latest videos. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a captivating era of history, a time of turmoil, upheaval, and transformation. We're stepping into the age of revolution. Picture this. It's the late 18th century, a period marked by profound socio-political changes across the globe. From the American Revolution to the wave of change in Europe, the world was on the brink of a new era. But our focus today is on a revolution that shook the world to its core, impacting not just the nation where it occurred, but the entire course of human history. Yes, we're talking about the French Revolution. In the coming scenes, we'll take you through the events that led to this monumental upheaval, the key players, the dramatic turns, and the lasting impact it had on the world. So, sit back and prepare to journey back in time, to the streets of Paris in the late 18th century, where the air was thick with the cries for liberty, equality, and fraternity. Hold on tight, as we're about to light the fuse on the powder keg that was France, and witness the spark that ignited the fire of revolution. Have you ever wondered what it takes to turn an entire society upside down? The answer lies in the tale of the French Revolution, a period of radical social and political upheaval in France that lasted from 1789 until 1799. Let's journey back to the late 18th century. France, a major European power, was knee-deep in a crippling financial crisis. The country's coffers were drained, not only from its costly involvement in the American Revolution, but also from the extravagant spending of King Louis XVI and his queen, Marie Antoinette. The royal couple was known for their opulence, living lavishly amidst a sea of poverty. Their disregard for the financial strain on the country was, to put it mildly, a recipe for disaster. But the economic trouble was just one part of the problem. Beneath the surface, widespread social inequality was brewing discontent among the masses. French society was divided into three estates. The first and second were made up of the clergy and nobility, who enjoyed great privileges and paid little or no taxes. Meanwhile, the third estate, representing the vast majority of the population, shouldered the nation's tax burden and had little political representation. This inequality was not just about money, it was about power. The first two estates, despite being a minority, held most of the political power, leaving the third estate marginalized and voiceless. This imbalance of power and wealth created a powder keg of frustration and resentment. So here we are, a nation burdened by financial crisis and social inequality, ruled by a king and queen oblivious to their subjects' suffering. The French people were hungry, not just for bread, but for justice, for equality, and for a voice in their own lives. The stage was set, a nation's discontent was simmering, and all it needed was a spark to ignite the fire of revolution. Imagine the anger of the masses finally reaching a boiling point, leading to the storming of a fortress prison. That fortress was the Bastille, an imposing structure in the heart of Paris. It was July 14, 1789. The Bastille, once a symbol of royal authority, soon became a symbol of tyranny in the eyes of the common folk. The Bastille was more than just a prison. It held within its walls a cache of weapons and gunpowder that was desperately needed by the revolutionaries. The crowd, initially demanding the release of prisoners and the surrender of the arms, soon grew violent. The guards fell, the gates were stormed, and the Bastille, that mighty fortress, was taken. This marked the beginning of the French Revolution, a pivotal moment in history where the people of France rose up against the monarchy. The storming of the Bastille was a clear message to King Louis XVI. The people had had enough. But the fall of the Bastille was not the end. It was merely the spark that ignited the flames of revolution. A wave of panic and paranoia, known as the Great Fear, swept through the countryside. Rumors spread like wildfire. Stories of an aristocratic conspiracy to overthrow the revolution stirred the populace into a frenzy. Peasants armed themselves, manors were burned, and records of feudal dues and taxes were destroyed. It was a time of chaos and uncertainty, where fear ruled the hearts of men and women. The Great Fear was a period of intense social and political upheaval, a time when the old order was being dismantled piece by piece. Yet amidst this chaos, a new order was slowly taking shape. The seeds of change had been sown, and there was no turning back. The revolutionaries, emboldened by their victory at the Bastille, were poised to take their fight to the very heart of the monarchy. The Bastille had fallen, the Great Fear had passed, but the revolution was far from over. What would you write if you had the chance to redefine the rights of every citizen? Imagine the year 1789. In the throes of the French Revolution, a document emerged that would forever alter the course of human rights: the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. This was no ordinary piece of parchment. It was a bold proclamation, a beacon of hope in turbulent times. It declared in no uncertain terms that every man is born free and remains equal in rights. This was a groundbreaking concept, especially in an era where social hierarchy and privilege were the order of the day. It asserted that sovereignty belonged to the people, a radical departure from the idea of divine right of kings. But it was more than just a statement of ideals. It was a promise of a new order, a promise of justice, liberty, and equality for all. This revolutionary document marked a pivotal point in human rights, but it was just one piece of the puzzle. Can you fathom a period where fear and violence become the order of the day? Imagine, if you will, a time when the air itself seemed to vibrate with a palpable sense of dread. This was the Reign of Terror, a chilling chapter of the French Revolution that reverberates through history with its grim tales of mass executions. In the late 18th century, as France grappled with the tumult of revolution, the Committee of Public Safety, led by the enigmatic Maximilien Robespierre, seized control. The committee was tasked with protecting the newly formed republic from foreign attacks and internal rebellion. However, it didn't take long for things to take a dark turn. Robespierre, a man of conviction, was driven by the belief that the republic could only be saved through the virtue of its citizens. But what happens when virtue is enforced by the blade of a guillotine? Under Robespierre's watch, the terror escalated, and the streets of Paris turned into a macabre theater of death. Anyone suspected of being an enemy of the revolution was swiftly brought before the tribunal, and more often than not, met their end under the guillotine's blade. It's estimated that between 16,000 and 40,000 people were executed during this period. The terror consumed not just the aristocrats, but also those who dared to dissent or question the new order. It was a time when the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity seemed to have been eclipsed by the shadow of the guillotine. Yet, as the saying goes, those who live by the sword die by the sword. Robespierre himself fell victim to his own instrument of justice. His execution on the 28th day of July 1794 marked the end of the Reign of Terror. The Reign of Terror ended with a turn of the guillotine, but the revolution's impact was far-reaching. It forever changed the face of France, and its echoes continue to shape our understanding of power, authority, and the price of freedom. Imagine a pendulum swinging back after being pushed to an extreme. After the Reign of Terror, France found itself in a state of reaction, a phase known as the Thermidorian reaction. Named after the month of Thermidor in the French revolutionary calendar, when Robespierre was overthrown, this was a period of backlash against the extreme policies and bloodshed of the Reign of Terror. The French people, weary of the relentless violence and the constant fear of the guillotine, began to push back against the radical revolutionaries. The Committee of Public Safety, once the most powerful entity in the country, lost its grip on power. The Revolutionary Tribunal, which had sent thousands to their deaths, was disbanded. The Jacobins, the political group that had spearheaded the Reign of Terror, were purged from the government, and many of their members were arrested and executed. The cult of the Supreme Being, Robespierre's attempt to replace Christianity with a state religion, was abandoned. In its place, the French people returned to their traditional Catholic faith. The economy, which had been heavily regulated during the Terror, was liberalized, leading to a period of inflation and economic hardship for many. Amidst this upheaval, the French people sought stability and a return to normalcy. They yearned for a government that could provide security, order, and economic stability. This yearning would pave the way for the rise of a new leader, a man who promised to bring order out of chaos, a man named Napoleon Bonaparte. The Thermidorian reaction was a critical turning point in the French Revolution. It marked the end of the radical phase of the revolution and set the stage for the rise of Napoleon. It was a reminder that even in the midst of revolution, the pendulum of public opinion can swing back, often with far-reaching consequences. In the wake of such a profound upheaval, what kind of a nation emerges? What does the aftermath of a revolution look like? In the case of France, the aftershocks of the revolution were felt for decades, and its echoes resonate to this day. The immediate fallout saw the rise and fall of one of history's most notorious figures, Napoleon Bonaparte. A military genius and a charismatic leader, Napoleon seized the opportunity provided by the chaos and uncertainty of the post-revolutionary era to rise to power. He declared himself emperor and embarked on a campaign of conquest that would almost see all of Europe under his thumb. But the seeds of revolution sown by the French were not so easily uprooted. Napoleon's rule, though marked by significant reforms and the establishment of a civil code that still forms the basis for French law today, was marred by the same thirst for power that had ignited the revolution in the first place. His reign ended in defeat and exile, and France once again found itself in the throes of change. The monarchy was restored, albeit briefly, with Louis XIII ascending the throne. However, the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity had taken root. The French people had tasted the power of their collective voice, and the monarchy could not stand against it. The monarchy was soon abolished, and the Second Republic was born. But the French Revolution's impact was not confined within the borders of France. It sent shockwaves around the world, inspiring revolutions in other countries, and paving the way for the rise of democracy. The concept of people power had been unleashed, and the world would never be the same again. The French Revolution, a tumultuous period of bloodshed and transformation, left an indelible mark on history, shaping the world as we know it today. It was a testament to the power of the people, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, and a beacon of hope for those yearning for freedom and equality.